Good morning, you lovely people. I hope you're all doing amazingly out there, wherever you are. We're here today giving you the latest in AI news. So strap on. Let's go.
Let's do it. We'll just jump straight in. That was a very quick intro, so we'll jump straight in. We have a news story today. It's a couple months old, but I think it's also pertinent to some of our experiences this week. And today is meant to be update day, but we thought we'd talk about some news, and we can strap it into something that's happening within the company as well, because this is quite interesting. So let me share my screen, and we will jump right in. So this article is titled "Amazon Quietly Blocks AI Bots from Meta, Google, Huawei, and more." And this is basically the process of stopping AI crawlers from going on your website. There's loads of different types of crawlers. You have the Google crawler, the Bing crawler, the ones for indexing on search engines. But there is a new wave of modern day crawler, and these are the AI ones. OpenAI use them, Anthropic use them, Meta, Google, Huawei, whatever company you would like. And they use these crawlers to go and do a few things. Retrieve information for users requesting it. So if you asked, for example, Amazon, what iPhone products they sell on their website, then the off goes the search and returns these results. It's one type of crawler. The other type of crawler is the one where it's actually just scraping data, outright getting information to train models on. And this has been quietly happening, an awful lot. And Amazon have just decided to call it a day, to put a stop to it, which is really interesting. So they're escalating their efforts to block AI companies from scraping their sort of massive e-commerce data, because they have the biggest in the world. And they're doing this by doing something called updating the robots.txt file, which, if you're not technical, is just a very simple way to tell crawlers to not go and look at this information and crawl it. If they do, there's repercussions there. And their primary motivation, according to this article, is the AI training side of it, not necessarily the retrieving information from Amazon, but for using it for training. And if they've got so much at stake, Amazon, if you're allowing outside AI tools to bypass Amazon's storefront, you could harm what is basically, the article says, a $56 billion advertising business. So they've just decided to block it. And before I pass over to you, Ben, to get your thoughts, I'll quickly explain how this impacts us as well. And
just quickly, just jump in there.
Go for it.
When they don't ask permission to say, "Can we crawl your website?" They just release these bots, and it's down to you to stop it. So it's almost like they're jumping in, taking loads of information, not asking permission, and then until you actually do something about it and stop them. So it's quite weird when you think about it. It's like, literally, going into somebody's office and saying, "Oh, let me just have a quick look at all your information, quick. You don't pretend I'm not here. Yeah. You won't notice me. I'll just be in and out before you know it. Thanks, bye."
Yeah, and this has been, to be honest, it is weird, and this has been happening forever, since the dawn of search engines. We've had crawlers. However, it's this new age of crawler that I think are getting people's backs up. It's the ones that are going around harvesting humongous amounts of data to train their AIs on. It's not so much the retrieval of information, because that's just a search engine, but it's harvesting it to train on, and companies are not very happy. So welcome to one of the controversies of getting the data to train large language models and models as such. This has actually been an impactor for us. We've recently experienced it ourselves, the vast scale of these bots hitting websites. We have developed websites for a very long time, and we have some older legacy clients and older sites of ours as well, primarily older sites of ours that we host the infrastructure of. Totally host the infrastructure. We manage it. So we use a cloud provider, but we use the infrastructure. We manage it ourselves, unlike modern day practices. And this has left us vulnerable before. We've had websites of ours go down, only temporarily, but because when we open up and look at the logs to why this has happened, because our logs and our databases have actually been totally swamped with AI traffic to the point where it's taken the site down temporarily, and we've had to upgrade infrastructure and mitigate against bots. This doesn't happen so much now with our modern websites and the things that we're churning out over the last couple of years, because we use managed cloud providers that protect us against bots and everything, so we don't have to think about it. But this is not the case for, there are tin pot website designers, website developers, everywhere that are building websites for clients that will be using non-managed services. And they're really at risk. They have to really watch this, because it's something that we haven't seen before. In all the time we've been building websites, we've never had these smaller, older websites of ours, having to have their servers upgraded because of the amount of bot traffic. And it literally is, if you open up the logs, OpenAI, Google, Meta, crawling and hitting traffic here, retrieving information for people using ChatGPT, and also, getting training data.
Interesting. And Will, this just to share with the audience, so this story jumped basically sort of jumped in front of me when it was somebody posting about it on LinkedIn, and I just made a it just grabbed me, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting, and I thought, I put my comment in there, and the general consensus was, oh, is this a bit of a backward step? Is this discoverability is really important. Businesses and brands need to be discoverable. This is the new way people are going to discover everything, which is certainly the case. However, I sort of made the point. I sort of made a slightly different point, and I was leaning into where else this is going with app SDKs, and whether some brands will. Yeah, whether some companies will step back from not only allowing their websites to be, crawled and information made discoverable on ChatGPT, but whether they actually want app integrations for their businesses, mainly around brand protection, IP, customer journeys, and protecting all of that. But I think it was just interesting. The initial consensus was, oh, they're pulling up the drawbridge. AI is the future. Why would you do that? You've got to embrace what's happening. And yes, you do. 100%, I get that. But it was just, I was thinking, well, when a company or organization has that much brand equity, attention is not always going to be solely on AI, ChatGPT, or whatever. Attention will still exist outside of that. In the real world, for example, people still will watch TV. Yes, we don't watch as many adverts we get on our phones when the adverts come in. I get all that. But there's still going to be other ways that brands may choose to protect their brand identity, protect their IP, protect their customer journeys. Think about the brand and the way they interact with their customer on a deeper, more meaningful level. So it will just be interesting to see if this is something that Amazon sort of push back on against not just the bots, but these app SDKs which are in the pipeline. And for those of you who don't know what these app SDKs are, basically OpenAI is starting to invite developers and companies, brands, to start building on their infrastructure to enable brands to seamlessly integrate to OpenAI. So in effect, you can imagine, find me a size 10 pair of brown brogues, and they've got to be this, and this. It'll not only find it, you'll be able to buy it just through ChatGPT. So the whole user face will be integrated. So you won't then jump onto, I don't know, pick a brand and on their website and buy their shoes or whatever it is through them, or book your hotel or your flights on their company's website. So it's really interesting. So it's going to be interesting how brands think about this and companies think about this, whether they're happy to have that whole experience, because ultimately you've got to fit in within their framework and within their flows, which might not align with yours. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I think for the big brands, I could see there's going to be a little bit of more deeper thought that's going to go into it because they don't have to. Whereas I think the majority of businesses, which are small to medium-sized businesses, which most people have never heard of, which are, don't have strong branding, then I can see why discoverability is going to be important, just like Google discoverability, like trying to appear on the keyword rankings and things like that. So it's just going to be interesting how this plays out, and whether it's, the big companies, Nikes, Amazons, whoever, just don't open themselves up to being so reliant, because that's the other thing, of course. You're putting, your reliance on this, or they're going to say, no, we're not. We're going to just protect ourselves a little bit and think of it. Or maybe they just test it slowly. I don't know. So that was my sort of thoughts on it. I sort of shared my comment on LinkedIn. So it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Will?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of nuance. I think for me there's a difference between crawling to find search results for a user. If you're asking for a bit of clothing on Amazon or something like that, there's a difference between going and fetching that information and hitting a website and crawling it for that information, and then crawling a website purely to harvest data to train models on. I can understand why companies would get their back up about that, because as you said, what you do need to have a website that is crawlable for marketing. People haven't complained. They even pay for services and advertising to get higher ranks on Google, which is totally powered by crawler technology, because they want more business. So this is no different. Really, you need to prepare your websites and any digital presence for crawling, so that it can be presented on LLM storefronts, so that you can see that information. I think that is a good thing, and another thing, a trend that will happen. Amazon blocking bots from crawling to get training data, I think that's a totally reasonable thing to do. I don't think that's a step back. Your information is covered. It's proprietary to you, and you might not want. You could be forgiven for not wanting that to go into a large language model, or you might be, because we need information to train these models. They are the future, so it's just sitting there public anyway. Why can't I use it to train? So I could see both sides of the argument. I do think things will, as you said, continue to be more deeply integrated, a bit like how Amazon release iOS apps, Android apps to go and shop directly. They're tying themselves into Apple and Google there. I don't see why they wouldn't extend that to want to have results directly pop up to buy within ChatGPT. It's just another acquisition channel. At this point, Amazon is so big that people will find their way to their platform via the website, via the apps, via ChatGPT, whatever. Really, they're just another acquisition channel. With 800 million weekly active users is a great thing. I think the danger is more probably for smaller companies if they launch directly on ChatGPT and have no other acquisition channel. Then you may end up being ruled by your OpenAI overlords, because if they decide they don't want your app on there, or they decide that it's not suitable, then you will have lost your one and only acquisition channel, and your business is dead in the water overnight. And OpenAI is hostile, as we found out once again this week. So to summarize my thoughts, really, is I don't think it's a problem for Amazon, but I think when you're looking at something like the Apps SDK as a smaller business, as a diversification, great, launch it, but as your only platform to launch on, that might be a bit of a dangerous thing.
Definitely. I think those are really, really good points, Will. It's interesting. When I look back to, 2010-ish or something like that, I can't remember. I remember a lot of businesses were figuring out SEO, and some of them absolutely smashed it. And a lot of it was just, keyword junk content, but they were getting right on top of the search rankings, and their businesses were absolutely killing it. Then be interested if anyone remembers this. I know it's happened several times, but if you do, put it in the comments. And then Google sort of changed their algorithm for discoverability for SEO, and suddenly I remember a load of businesses just up in arms because of this change. It might have been 2014. I can't remember. And obviously, it's not something that they've done once. Obviously, that they're constantly tweaking.
Iterative.
But I remember it being quite a big change and a big update. And suddenly, businesses who are solely dependent on appearing in the top 3 of the Google search rankings for a particular keyword were just not there, and their businesses just failed overnight. And I think that just reiterates your point, Will, with just relying on one acquisition channel is incredibly vulnerable. It's crazy, isn't it? You think you could be killing it, absolutely smashing it, thinking you're king of the world, and when you think everything's going well, I can't imagine anything. And then you start you start going for it, and you start, and then suddenly, boom, smack in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Well, you should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
And life has a habit of smacking you in the face when sometimes things are going well. So I think it's just a word of caution, really, more than anything. And this is exactly the same. And it's going to be interesting how it all plays out, because it's all super new, and you haven't
it's very exciting
seeing these things built out yet fully. So let's wait and see what plays out, mate. So
absolutely.
On that note, let's wrap it up. I'd love to know what you guys think. Put your thoughts in the comments. Really appreciate it. It's great to see some comments coming through, guys, by the way. Whether you agree with us, whether you don't agree with us, it's great to have these debates, these conversations. It helps us think about how we, developing our frameworks and thinking about AI and what that future looks like. We want to build a positive future. So, your contributions are really, really valid and helpful, and really gets us thinking. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like, subscribe, share. And until next time, keep tuning in, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care, guys.
Cheers, guys.